Yeah, what's up, everybody? Frank Red on the radio. Once again, on the internet. I'm everywhere, man. YouTube, anywhere you're checking me out, either right now or later on down the road. This is another edition of the Dungeon Program. And we're going to talk about what took place in Game 6 of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. The Celtics miraculously victorious tonight, 104-103. And if you just look at the score, you pick up a newspaper, or you look at a website with no knowledge of what took place in the game, you're like, oh, wow, it's a pretty close game, 1-point victory. Good for them. It was much more than that, and we're going to get into that tonight. We tried to create an algorithm of how the Boston Celtics won tonight's game. Good luck doing that, because you'll be at it for a while, no doubt about that. At the end of the day, they have the 1-point victory, and they're trying to do what no team has ever done in the history of the NBA, which is win a conference finals after being down 3 games to 0. The Celtics have won 3 games in a row, and oh, by the way, they get a chance to play for the right to represent the Eastern Conference against the Denver Nuggets, who won the West after sweeping the LA Lakers, on Monday night in the Boston Garden before their raucous crowd. You know that place is going to be rocking. Any Hall of Famer who wants to be there, I'm sure, will have an invite, you know. It should be riveting television and certainly one of those classic moments that whomever is there would feel very, very lucky to be in the building on Monday night to see if the Boston Celtics can do what no team in the history of the NBA has done, which is come back from an 0-3 deficit. From the Miami Heat's perspective, watching Eric Spoelstra's post-game interview, I would be hyped to play that game. He said, Eric Spoelstra said, we're ready to play right now. And based on how they came back from the double-digit deficit against the Boston Celtics in the fourth quarter, I think he's right. I think that Boston has to feel pretty good, but I think the Miami Heat probably feel even better because they truly let one get away. Jimmy Butler, late, with 3 seconds to go in the game, gets fouled by Al Horford, being down 2, goes to the line and makes all 3 free throws. You know how hard that is? That's difficult to do. Everything on the line. After going 4 for 21 from the field, something ridiculous like that. In the fourth quarter, he showed up. Really did. And that's why stats don't really matter. But if you ask me, Jimmy Butler played not a good game, but he played a tough game. And that's what you want your players to do. You want your guys to show up, your girls to show up when it matters most. And at the end of that game, Jimmy Butler was right there. And Boston called timeout with 3 seconds to go. And everybody was kind of waiting what type of play Joe Mazzulla was going to dial up for Boston. And it wasn't the most creative last-second shot that we've ever seen, particularly with 3 seconds. 3 seconds, you have enough time to catch, head fake, dribble to the basket, make a pass, get a wide open shot. Marcus Smart simply kind of positioned himself to catch the ball, contorted his left-right shoulder, squared his shoulder to the basket, and shot kind of a fadeaway from about 22 feet. And it actually looked good, but he missed. Unfortunately, Derek White followed his middle school basketball coach's rule of follow the ball when somebody shoots it. He dives to the basket, catches it, and puts it up right before the buzzer goes off. That was awesome. And it was like almost nondescript because the commentators and everybody did not know that it was good. You know, one of those Lorenzo Charles moments back in the day for those who watch videos of North Carolina State beating the Houston Cougars, the last second shot by Lorenzo Charles after a rebounded shot from Derek Wittenberg is his name. He missed the shot. Lorenzo Charles grabs it, puts it in. Last second, North Carolina State wins the 1983 national championship. One of those CBS moments that is etched in all of our minds who got opportunity to see the video. If you were old enough to see the game, equally captivating on that particular night. I think this particular game is going to go down in history. Now, the history can be better if the Celtics win Game 7, or if the Miami Heat are able to go up to Boston and get the victory. And I don't think that is far-fetched at all. I really don't, because they let one get away. And that has to suck for about a couple of minutes. But when you got a guy like Eric Spoelstra, you got Pat Riley, you got all those veterans, Adonis Haslam, 20-year vet of the Miami Heat, they know that they let one get away. So I think that it's really anybody's game. And from a basketball perspective, I can't wait to see it. Now, quietly, I wanted Boston to win because I wanted more basketball. I'm a basketball fan. I don't have to root for either team. I just want to see the best team win. I can look at both teams and identify things that I like about both teams, both organizations. And I can't think of anything better for me to do. And I'm sure a lot of sports fans out there, on a Monday night, I guess 8:30 if you're on the East Coast time, 5:30 if you're on the West Coast, after you've gone to a picnic, barbecue, you kind of hung out with your loved ones throughout the day, finish that Memorial Day by watching a great basketball game against two teams that both won it and are capable of winning the game. Now, on the sideline, Spoelstra definitely has the advantage over Joe Mazzulla. But hey, man, you're going to blame the coach when the team loses. So give Joe Mazzulla some credit for, at the very least, keeping his team focused on what they needed to do. All right? He made some more mistakes, and he would have got barbecued had Boston lost this game tonight. But they won. And even if they lose Game 7, there's still going to be a plethora of people out there who think that this guy is not right for the job. And that's unfortunate because no coach is at their best right away. This is his first head coaching job. Based on the evidence, you would say that he's done pretty darn well. All right. Who am I? I'm Frank Red. What's up, everybody? I don't know how many people are watching or listening. It doesn't even matter right now. What matters is I have an opportunity to do something that I love to do, which is talk about sports and hopefully drop some science and galvanize an audience over a period of time. Now, as I was prepping for this show, I do a lot of prep work because to think that I could come out here and just simply wing it and start talking about so many different things that's happening in the world of sports would be disrespectful because it's not easy. I did radio for a long period of time, and then I didn't do it for 10 plus, right? And now, because of technology and the access and finding my thirst, finding my love and my desire for engagement, I'm doing it again. And it is a thrill. It is a thrill to turn the mic on and just let it rip and not know what's going to happen, right? Beyond the obvious. We can talk about the obvious. Yeah, Boston won 104 to 103 for the Miami Heat. The series tied 3-3. Jason Tatum had 25 points first half, only 6 points in the second half. It's good to see Jaylen Brown have a bounce-back game. Pretty solid tonight, all around, had 26 points. And I think the real star for the Boston Celtics was their defense. You look at Miami, and Miami has built their foundation, their success on their defense, and clearly tonight, the Boston Celtics were the best defensive team. Al Horford, did his Bill Russell imitation tonight. He was throwing everything back. That's another conversation, but he might not get there. But Al Horford is kind of a fringe Hall of Famer, as far as I'm concerned. 4-time All-Star, 2-time national champion at the University of Florida. I'm going to say he gets in, all right? One of the best ambassadors in the history of the NBA. And if he can win an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics, maybe not first ballot, definitely not first ballot, but I think Al Horford gets in. He might get in anyway, but I think that this would slam the gauntlet down, and at some point he would be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. That's probably going to happen anyway, but he played an incredible defensive game. He really did, and got to give him a lot of credit. Marcus Smart was nails. I remember last year people talking about whether or not he could lead a team to a victory playing against the Warriors and Stephen Curry doing what he did. But I think Marcus Smart has really rallied and kind of regained maybe some of the luster that he had lost after last year's finals against the Golden State Warriors. And oh, by the way, he was the Defensive Player of the Year last year. So Marcus Smart is somebody who's highly, highly, highly respected. And I thought he played a solid basketball game tonight. It was good to see Northern California's own, Central Valley's own, Gabe Vincent, a guy who I am just a major supporter of, come back after twisting his ankle, playing Game 6, toughed it out, had 15 points. He played very, very well. All of the Miami role players played well. It was the starters who really struggled tonight. Jimmy Butler, you look at his line, if you don't look at the percentages, you go, wow, he had 20 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, whatever he had. But he was awful for 3 quarters. Awful. And as a team, they built their bones on, making perimeter shots, and they were okay. They could definitely shoot the ball better. The Boston Celtics were horrible from 3. They couldn't make a shot. So both teams just kind of struggled. And I tell you what, a lot of times when you don't notice the referees, that's an indication that they're doing a really, really good job. I thought this particular group of referees officiated the game the way that I like to see it. All right? Contact is a part of basketball. All right? It's a part of sports, but certainly a part of basketball. You should only call a foul when the contact impedes your ability to score. Not because you fall down, right? Not because you might have got hit in the head or the eye inadvertently. It happens. It's contact. But these officials, I thought, set a tone for how they wanted to officiate the game, and they stuck to it. And I think ultimately the players started to adjust. Also, you didn't see a whole lot of complaining from the coaches. And that was another sign that they realized that, you know what, this is what it is. We're going to have to get our teams ready and conditioned to play and not worry about the officials having an impact on the game. I thought they did a fantastic job. It wouldn't surprise me if they didn't have the same officiating crew on Monday night. All right? This is In the Dungeon program. My name is Frank Red. You can hit me up at Big Frank Red. It's flashing there on the screen on Twitter. I like to share my thoughts on Twitter. I also like to respond to people because I don't know everything. My opinion is on various topics. It's not always the best. I'm right a lot, because I know a lot about basketball and sports in general, and I'm a critical thinker. But there are many critical thinkers out there and people who know a hell of a lot more than I know. And I love to get to that point where I'm considering changing my opinion because somebody has made a better case for something. I love that. I do love that. So follow me at Big Frank Red on Twitter if you don't already follow me. I do follow back as well. And it's always a lot of fun. I don't want to get bogged down with all of the various social media entities out there right now because this job is hard enough just getting settled to actually do a show. And I would say to anybody who aspires to do this, because access to the reality, the having access to the reality of actually doing a show is no longer an excuse. Anybody can do it because technology has evolved to the point where it's there for anybody to be a part of. Now, the technical stuff can be overwhelming. Anybody says that it's easy, it might be intuitive to some people. It's not all that intuitive to me, but I'm learning. And even learning the process of producing a show and hosting a show and preparing to do a show, it's all exciting. It's all exciting. And I would encourage people out there to try it. If you are passionate about actually sharing your thoughts and your ideas about sports and everything, it doesn't have to be sports. I'm sure I'll get into a lot of different things over a period of time. But tonight we're talking about the Boston Celtics victory over the Miami Heat, 104-103, to tie this 7-game series at 3-3. The final game, Game 7, will be on Monday night in the Boston Garden. And I think it's a pick 'em. I'm sure Boston will be favored, but I don't think that anybody can say that anybody has that big of an advantage. I don't believe that. I also watched a WNBA game today, and there's a lot of people who dismiss women's basketball. I don't know why. It's not the NBA. It's not men's basketball. It's women's basketball. And guess what? These players are good. What they are doing for women's basketball and this professional league is incredible. To think that, and it's taken 20 years. The WNBA has been around for 20 years. And the first 10 years was pretty rough. I mean, outside of the Houston Comets and the LA Sparks, name 5 players really quickly. Yeah, you probably can't do it, right? Because the league was thriving. It was like, the NBA back in the olden days, at the beginning. They didn't have a lot of teams. It took a while. But when you look at what's on the horizon for the WNBA, Caitlin Clark will be in the WNBA soon enough. Hopefully Paige Beckers out of UConn will just get healthy, man. She's had a tough time with knee injuries, stuff like that. What a terrific player she is when she's at her best. So I'm looking forward to seeing those 2 young ladies do their thing at the next level. And there's so many other players in college that are undiscovered that I think will ascend to the WNBA and make a name for themselves as well. So if you're a WNBA fan out there, this is a home for you. This is a place where you don't have to feel like you're being chastised or you talk to somebody who doesn't follow the league or doesn't follow the actual players. I do, because it's basketball. I'm a coach. I work out boys, girls, doesn't matter to me. Anybody, you want to get better? I'll get you better. All right? I'm Frank Red. You can hit me up at BigFrankRed on Twitter. Love to hear your comments here. We're probably going to go for 30 plus minutes, so we'll just get the vibe of the show and talk about it and break the game down a little bit. Boston was victorious, 104-103. It's hard to break down luck, okay? It's hard to break down luck. This was not a beauty pageant by any stretch of the imagination. Aesthetically, for 3 quarters, it was a rock fight. That's what it was. Pick any playoff game in the early 90s, definitely the 80s, and that's what you had tonight. And I think the score speaks to that. 104-103? Are you kidding me? In this era of basketball? That's not what you see. You're always above around 115, 120. Think about this for a second. The best series that we've had in this year's NBA playoffs was the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. That was the best series. Up and down basketball, high skill level. And it's kind of been a struggle, from that point. I think that's why a lot of Golden State Warrior fans and players and people within that organization feels that this year was kind of a hiccup if they can get their roster together. From the Sacramento Kings perspective, I'm probably an outsider in terms of how I think they need to move forward, because I'm not a fan. I'm a supporter. And I do understand how teams are constructed. A lot of times, fans want everything. They want a team that wins. They want players who they love. And they want to have input on how management constructs the team. It doesn't work that way. Because guess what? Once you win a little bit, the owner wants to win more. Why? Because everybody's competitive. And guess what else? It's more profitable when you win more. Yes. So, if you think that the Kings owner is not expecting Monty McNair to do even better next year and Mike Brown to do better next year, you got another thing coming. So they got to look at this lens of how they construct the team totally different than how a fan would. You guys know where I'm going, right? If I'm the Kings, I got to kick the can. I have to kick the tires on Dillon Brooks. I have to. And I've been thinking about this all day. Now, and I'm going to tell you why. Can you tell me one time that Dillon Brooks has had anything negative attached to him off the basketball court? Because I don't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. This guy's been in the league now for 6 years. And yes, he does some ridiculous things on the court. Maybe because he still feels he has to prove himself, and he doesn't have to prove himself for what? But on the court, he's one of the best two-way players in the league. The Memphis Grizzlies, to me, made a terrible mistake of just kind of dismissing him and saying that they wasn't bringing him back under any circumstance. Although that was reported by the media. Maybe they have a different view on that. At the very least, kind of maintain a relationship. They might be able to do a sign and trade, something like that. Get something back in return. Dillon Brooks, 16, 17 million a year. I'm gonna shout my man Mark Graves out there. Had a great question. He said, well, what do you pay a guy like Dillon Brooks? 17 million, 16, 17 million. 3 years guaranteed. The 4th year, he has to meet some incentives. I would even have some stuff in the contract stipulating conduct. I would do my due diligence on this guy, because I tell you right now, if you have a starting lineup of Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Dillon Brooks, Kevin Huerter, and De'Aaron Fox, are you kidding me right now? At the very least, they're going to be a top 3 seed. They were a top 3 seed last year, but they're better suited for the playoffs, and they are a better defensive team than they were this past year. Now, they were the leading scoring team in the NBA. Nobody, not even Stephen Curry at this stage of his career, should score 50 points on you in your building. You got to have somebody that's going to go out there and not shut him down, keep him under 40, keep him under 35. You saw what the Lakers did. The Lakers built their entire defense around stopping Stephen Curry. And because at that point, the onus was on his teammates to pick up the slack, the Lakers won. That's all it was. So it'd be interesting to see how the Kings fans feel about it, man. Take your fan hat off for a second and ask yourself, do you really want to win? I go back 20 years, and when Chris Webber got traded from the Wizards to the Sacramento Kings, or when the Kings traded Mitch Richmond, there was a pretty significant contingent of people out there that was like, what are you doing? You trading Rock Richmond, who is beloved. I know Mitch Richmond. Mitch Richmond is a great guy, sweetheart guy, and a hell of a player. But when they had an opportunity, when Jeff Petrie had an opportunity to trade for Chris Webber, in spite of all of the stuff that had transpired before Webb got the sack, he couldn't do it fast enough. Why? Because he wanted to win. He wanted to win. That's why. Sacramento is rocking when they're pretty good. Do you know how that city would be if they could take their collective games to the next level? With Mike Brown as the coach, his defensive influence, he can make Dylan Brooks an even better defensive player. Probably a better offensive player as well. He said that's the one reason Jonathan Kuminga should have played against the Lakers. They double Curry, would have opened the floor for Jonathan Kuminga. Mark Graves is keeping the chat burning. I really appreciate you, brother. You're switching series and you're saying that's why Jonathan Kuminga should have played against the Lakers. And I don't have a problem with him playing. As a matter of fact, I can't draw up a logical reason why Kerr didn't play him from the outside. Now, from the inside, I'm sure that there were some things that transpired, but you got to have a short memory. I'm with you. I think he should have played. Now, with that said, I watched a video yesterday that was put up on YouTube by a real talented cat, Cyrus, that does Locked On the Warriors, real popular show. And it showed Jonathan Kuminga working out at St. John's. And I didn't like what I saw. I didn't. I am a talent evaluator. I am somebody who knows how to do workouts. And what I saw him doing primarily was going against soft defense, taking one dribble move, step back, shooting it from like 22 feet, and the ball was going in the basket. But guess what? That's not the shot that you're going to get as a third or fourth option on the floor. That's not it. I wanted to see him posting up, turning over his left shoulder, elevating, throwing a jump hook, 8-9 foot shots in the lane, or catching and shooting and making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shots in a row. That's impressive because those are the shots that you get in the game. You know what I'm saying? And everybody can assess that or look at that and go, that's good. Or the other thing is straight line drives. All right? One dribble to the left or the right, straight line drive to the basket. Off of one dribble and then explode to the rim. Nobody stopped Jonathan Kuminga when he explodes to the rim. Nobody. But he needs to know what his game is. And I don't think he knows. And at the same time, I don't know if the Warriors have expressed to him in a way that he could receive those messages. I don't know. I'm not one of their coaches. I'm not in practice. I just know that you have this immensely talented guy that could get lost, because every coach who has a job in the NBA is not a great coach. Yeah, that's a fact. They probably, I would assume they have credentials. I'm not saying they're terrible, but every coach who has a job in the NBA is not a great coach. It's not. Most of these jobs are acquired because of relationships. That's the bottom line. Relationships, friendships that have been established a long period of time, and it is what it is. I know high school coaches that if they were hired by NBA teams tomorrow, they would do a hell of a job. Not as a head coach, but as a functional coach of a part of a staff. I know high school coaches right now that would do better than some of the other coaches who are working. And that's just the reality of it, man. That's just the reality of it. But Jonathan Kuminga is immensely talented. But I'm concerned because this next year's going to be year what? Is that year 3, year 4? The years start to add up really, really quickly. And the players that make it, generally by year 3, they have a package that they can go to. You even look at a guy like Keegan Murray on the Sacramento Kings. You know what? First 25 games, he's kind of figuring it out. All of a sudden, he looked like a player. Even in the series against the Golden State Warriors, from games like 3 on or 4 on, this dude was balling out of control. You know, so he's going to have so much confidence. Yeah, he's going to have so much confidence next year. I guess Kuminga's going to come into year 3. Yo, year 3 is big. Year 3 is big. That's the year that the organization can extend you. That's the year that I think that the veteran guys have kind of pretty much reached a conclusion with regards to whether or not they think you can play or not. You know, there's no question about Kuminga's talent, but whether or not he can establish himself will be determined. I am Frank Red. What's up, everybody? This is the In the Dungeon program. You can hit me up at Big Frank Red on Twitter. My man Mark Graves is holding it down. Brother, you know what? When we build this thing up, and you know, we have a couple of people wanting to be heard or acknowledged, you always move to the line. Always, all right? Remember that. You won't have to call me out. I say, yo, my guy Mark is coming to the front of the line because he was with me at the beginning. And I think that's the real challenge, man. I remember when I first did a radio show, and no disrespect, but I was following like indoor, like soccer or something. The radio station that I was on was broadcasting like indoor soccer, field hockey or something like that. And, you know, not because of me, but because of a lot of people helping me and wanting me to be successful. You know, by year 2 or 3, I was, you know, one of the top shows in that particular market. It happened to be Sacramento. So I'll never forget that because it was not easy. It was just like this. It was an opportunity for me to get better every time I touched the mic and to just let it go and let the show go wherever it wants to go, because the work has been done. The content is there. And when I listen to shows, it's really about the content. You know, it's not about all of the, the drama or who can curse or who can, scream at people and stuff like that. I don't do that, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I might meet you in the streets. And the level of respect that I give you in the streets is the same amount that I'm going to give you even in this format online. And at the same time, I would hope that anybody would reciprocate that level of respect, because this is really not all that important. It's only important when we're doing it. When we're not doing it, it's not that important. We just watched a basketball game, right? We just watched a basketball game between 2 teams that wanted to win. And they went out there and they fought like champions. Aesthetically, it didn't look like the most beautiful basketball game I've ever played. And we're talking about the Boston Celtics, the Miami Heat. The Celtics eked out a win on a last-second tip-in shot by Derek White, 104-103. And now on Monday night, they have a chance to do something no one's ever done, which is win a Game 7 in a conference championship series. And I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. I had reservations between, I knew the series would be tough, but at the beginning, I thought Boston would win because they were better. But it wasn't like I dismissed the Miami Heat because they're tough. They are tough. Yeah. If you watch Strus play, I can't even think. Matt, his name is Matt Strus, right? That's his first name? I don't remember, but I watched Matt play a lot at DePaul. And he actually plays for the Miami Heat like he played at DePaul. They didn't win a whole lot of games, but he made shots. He's always been able to shoot the ball. And Eric Spoelstra kind of had his back in the press conference, saying that what he was doing was kind of shading Marcus Smart so he didn't have a driving lane. And I think what happened was he lost track of his man. And Derek White slipped behind him, and was able to get the rebound and put it in. If I am Strus, I feel like crap because regardless of what my coach said, that's my responsibility. In no way my man should get an offensive rebound on a last-second shot to win a game. I would feel horrible, and I'm sure he does. But just kind of showing the type of coach that Spoelstra is, he didn't want his player to get barbecued. Maybe internally they probably had some conversations about it. I'm sure they did. That's how big the game was. But yo, man, strap it up, man. Strap it up and get ready for Game 7. That's all. That's the only thing you can do. Now, I'm gonna talk about one of these third rail topics. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do want to put it into air. Everybody knows Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Famer, Super Bowls with the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Big time Kobe Bryant fan. And now he has a big megaphone on Fox with Skip Bayless. What's the name of the show? I don't know the name of the show. I do watch it on occasion. But Shannon Sharpe has a platform, a really big platform, to voice his opinions, right? And an old topic that not only Shannon, Stephen A., a lot of people have talked about Kwame Brown being a bust, being one of the biggest busts in the history of the NBA. Now, people are good at like checking your Twitter record about things you said 19 years ago and stuff like that. Good for you. But I'm on record to saying a long time ago that Kwame Brown was not a bust. There's no way you can play in the NBA for 13 years and be a bust. It's impossible. That means that you've been paid millions of dollars 3, 4, 5 times. You're not a bust. Can you underachieve? Yes. Most people underachieve. You know, look at our lives. We go out and we do the best that we can, and hopefully things work out. But to have Kwame Brown be up on a poster on some Mount Rushmore of the biggest bust in the history of the NBA is just flat out wrong. And it says that you don't really know your basketball. Right? Now, how Kwame Brown expresses himself on the internet, I'm not cool with that. But that's how he wants to do it, then that's fine. But then, you know, the conversation about having these platforms starts to rise. And I think that component of what we are able to do now to touch people all around the world gets lost. Because a lot of times when you hear language that's kind of crazy and people start saying things and making personal attacks, it's because they're through making the argument. They can't build on their thesis. When you can build on your thesis, you just keep going. You know, you don't have to get down on that lower level. You know, you don't have to, because some people are going to laugh and look at it as entertainment, but it's a disappointment because, again, the learning stops. There's nothing else to learn. And even from Shannon Sharpe's perspective, you know, Skip Bayless is sitting across from him, and Skip's not really saying anything because Skip knows that he's not using that mic the way that he can to really build on the conversation. Now I'm gonna throw a name out to you. Purvis Ellison. Never Nervous Purvis Ellison, right? Great college player. One of the best college players that we've seen in the past 30 years. Was unbelievable at Louisville. Was a number 1 overall pick in 1989. Played 11 years in the NBA. You know what his career averages are? 9 points and 6 rebounds. He don't get all that smoke. He don't get it. Why? Why not? Why is Kwame the poster child? Kwame Brown actually played 13 years. Okay, injuries hurt him. He played 11 years in the league. But Sam Bowie, Sam Bowie, unfortunately, gets caught up in like punchlines and stuff. The guy broke his foot like 3 times, and people look at him like he's a bust. Didn't work out. Now, as an outsider, when I look at a guy like Kwame Brown's biggest mistake, in my opinion, is not going to college. He signed with the University of Florida, right, to play for Billy Donovan, who, listen, in the past 30 years of college basketball, Billy Donovan is one of the top skill developers in history of college basketball. That's a fact. Billy Donovan was the first Villanova. His program at Florida. Everything that we see in Villanova do now, Billy Donovan did it at Florida first. Joakim Noah was probably rated like number 104 coming out of high school. Maybe a little higher, not much than that. Al Horford was like in the 90s. The other guy I can't think of right now was the highest rated player, and he turned out not to be the most successful pro. I can't think of his name right now. I'm sure you'll bring it up, or somebody's thinking about him right now. But skill development is everything. Mike Miller was a top player, and Mike Miller built on his package when he got to Florida, ultimately became a 2-time NBA champion, right? And although he never won a national championship. So I think if Kwame had it to do over again, maybe he would make some different decisions. I think would have had a real strong impact on how his career ultimately turned out, because he went to the wrong organization. And maybe there wasn't a right organization when he came out. So he had to wear that stuff. And to me, that's the sad part. That's the part of the story that doesn't get told. I actually saw him be introspective in a podcast with The Pivot that he did. And those guys try to create an atmosphere where people can be comfortable and really have a conversation, as opposed to just going buck wild like some of these websites do. And I know why they do it, because there's a market for it. There's an audience for it. Or maybe that's their style. That's what they want to do. It's all good. Anybody can do whatever they want to do. But injuries or not, Purvis Ellison's career didn't turn out the way that people thought that it would. Injuries, I'm sure, were a part of it, but it just didn't happen. You don't have people like running his name out there. No, the guy has moved on to his life, doing great things, helping young people, got one of the top AAU programs in the country right now. So if anybody thinks that Kwame Brown is a bust after getting paid in the NBA for 13 years, I want to be that bust. Guys just don't make it. I mean, Wiseman might not make it. James Wiseman might not make it. Because he's not good enough? Come on, man. No, he's good enough. But maybe psychologically, maybe not being in the right organization, all of those things matter. Conversely, would Jordan Poole have had the opportunity to develop the way that he has if he was not around the Stephen Currys of the world, the Klay Thompsons, the Kerrs, and all of the people within that organization that hold you to a really, really high standard? Jordan Poole is levels above where he was in college. Skill-wise. Can he put it all together mentally and come back and have a great year next year? I hope he can. But I just wanted to put the Shannon Sharpe and the Kwame Brown. Yo, man, I would love to see those gentlemen have a conversation that doesn't get personal, because when it gets personal, it makes a lot of people look bad. It does. It really does. And there's people out there who think that Everybody shouldn't have an opportunity to talk on a microphone. Everybody should not have an audience. Only a few should have it. You should be doing something else. And I'll give you a perfect example, man. I went to Fordham University, one of the top college radio programs in the nation. And I didn't know that. Once I'm talking a 90,000 watt station. WFUV. Yes. Many of the individuals who I went to college with are professionals in the industry. Michael Kay, the voice of the Yankees, went to Fordham. Bob Papa, the voice of the New York Football Giants, went to Fordham. I went to school with Papa. I was on his show. I think his show was called One-on-One. Yeah. But as a 16, 17-year-old growing up in New York, going to college at a university at that level was really about survival. My first year or two was about survival. And then I figured it out and I became very, very comfortable. Did a lot of great things. I was actually asked to write the basketball preview my senior year. So I wrote the basketball preview for my senior season, which is a tremendous honor, actually. Every year they ask a senior to write the preview of the team, and I was asked to do that. So I kind of tell you my journey. But going in, if I had the foundation out of high school, knowing what WFUV could do for me as a broadcaster, you think I wouldn't take advantage of that? I would, but I didn't know about it. And I only speak to that because of what Kwame Brown had to go through. Once he made the decision to become a pro, his teammate was Michael Jordan. And his coach was Doug Collins. Come on, man. That was not the most nurturing environment, and it hurt him. And it's almost a credit to him that he played 13 years in the NBA. Dude got a pension. I don't know what his pension is. I'm not in his bag, but probably pretty darn good. You know, so I think it's time to let that go. You know, and you know, Kwame could criticize, you know, LeBron James' performance in Game 4, and I'll say he's wrong 100 times. But that's okay. He has a right to have his opinion. You know, he shouldn't be ridiculed because he has an opinion. He shouldn't have to hear people attack him personally because he has an opinion that people don't like. So that's my 2 cents on that particular topic. And I don't like when people get personal. I don't like it. It's not necessary. You know, it makes this stuff not fun anymore. So I don't particularly watch those shows. Marcellus Wiley, I'm with that. You know, he has a new podcast called, I guess it says Don't Shut Up or Just Shut Up. I'm not quite sure what it is. But I check it out because it's smart. It's a smart show. It's what we need. It's what I'm trying to build here with this In the Dungeon program. You know, if the worst thing that somebody can say to me is, Frank Red, you got a smart show, dude. I've done my job. I've done what I'm supposed to do. You agreeing with me, me agreeing with you or disagreeing, that's auxiliary stuff. That's hanging out on the periphery. That's not what this is about. This is a diversion. And I want this show to be entertaining, but I want it to be smart. I want it to be something that people can learn from, you know? Particularly with basketball and sports. I play football and basketball at Fordham. I don't talk a lot about the football stuff because I went to Fordham on a basketball scholarship, but I played both sports. So I can, you know, we're gonna ramp this thing up. You know, I'm a little embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed right now talking about the Giants, so I shut up because I need to do a lot of research. People thought the Giants were going to suck this year. and people just beat up Kapler. They don't like him for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe he's a little aloof in his interviews and stuff like that. But give the Giants credit. The Giants don't suck. I thought they did, and it shows you how much I know because I didn't know the personnel. I didn't know what they had in the farm system. They got guys. They're balling out. I would love to just go out there and just hang out on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and watch them just play. Will they win a pennant, a World Series? No. But they don't suck. They're out there trying. And I think that's more than what people thought that they would be able to do. Now, diehard Giant fans, I get it. I'm a Knicks fan. I want the Knicks to win. So, but for the casual baseball fan out there, I think that, the Giants have proven to a lot of people that, maybe they were misread early on this year. My name is Frank Red. This is the In the Dungeon program. You can hit me up at Big Frank Red on Twitter. And, let's start a conversation. I'm always surprised and taken aback by the conversations that start and continue to happen in social media. People from different countries, and yes, it's pretty cool stuff. Now, I also want to give you a name of a player in this year's draft. I've talked about a couple of names over the past couple of shows I've done. Leonard Miller, young man who played for G League Elite, 6'10". Kind of reminds me of Herb Jones of the New Orleans Pelicans. Not necessarily a small forward, not a power forward, but a real player. Somebody who I think will probably be available when the Kings and the Warriors pick, somewhere between probably 15 and 20. I think he's a pretty talented guy that had he been a highlighted player for a top-notch college, he would probably be viewed as somebody who's going to be drafted in the top 10. I believe that. There's another guy, center who played for Alabama, Charles Bindiaco. Hopefully I'm not butchering his name too bad. Well, he's a 7-foot center, 7'1". I thought he was pretty active in college. He can rebound, he can block shots, and he's somebody who you can bring along over a period of time. I think he's another fit for the Kings and possibly the Warriors. Now tonight I'm going to talk about Jalen Hood Schifino, 6'6" point guard out of the University of Indiana, who just a freshman, only played 1 year, and his shot was a little inconsistent, but his basketball instincts are sublime. His ability to play defense is right there, and he's 6'6". And again, because there's not a whole lot of notoriety on a lot of these players, you can get great quality late in the draft. And that's where guys like the Jordan Pooles are drafted, That's what killing the draft is all about. Anybody can pick Scoot Henderson out of a lineup, or a Victor Wembanyama, or Brandon Miller out of Alabama, or any number of guys that you hear their names over and over and over again. But finding those diamonds, finding those guys 15 and beyond outside the lottery who ultimately become starters and become early contributors to your organization, that's how you get better. And Jalen Hood Schifino is one guy out of college, Indiana, that I think is going to be a really, really good player. And he's probably a combo guy. He can probably play along with other point guards as well. So be on the lookout for him. All right. I mentioned the Sacramento Kings. They had Jaime Jaquez as somebody who they might take a look at in the second round. You got a lot of different services. Maybe that's not the guy, but I like him. He's a competitor, man. He's probably going to split time in the G League and also in the NBA next year. But I think he's going to make a team. And it wouldn't surprise me at some point if he didn't become a pretty good player. With regards to the game Monday night between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, I'm interested in knowing how you guys feel about it. You think it's a pick'em game? Do you think there's one team that has the advantage? I mean, obviously, a lot of folks feel that now Boston's in the driver's seat. I wouldn't say that. And I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't say that. Because they have a very inexperienced coach. It almost pisses me off when I think about Stevenson just giving him the job, because he's had to go through a lot of stuff. Now, maybe ultimately this will pay dividends for him and he'll evolve into a great coach. But he's had to deal with a lot, because Ime Udoka by last year was a very good coach and already a leader of men. I think his players gravitated towards him and they still miss him. And is there anybody who thinks that Ime Udoka is not going to be a hit in Houston? Even next year, they got a top draft pick. They got good young talent. He's going to get those guys and galvanize them right away. And all those victories that people counted going down to Houston this year and last year, that's a thing of the past. Now, my man Mark Graves out there says that in Game 7, Jimmy Butler needs to show up early. That would be nice. But Jimmy Butler is not a graceful, aesthetically talented player. He's a guy who gets maximum and some out of his ability. And one thing that the Boston Celtics coaches have prepared the players to do is not go for the pump fake. So they ain't going for it now. So all of a sudden, Jimmy at 6'6", 6'7", oftentimes has to rise over a player who's taller and make a perimeter shot. You know, so he's being challenged. He's a good player, but think about when Jimmy Butler is really playing well. Is when he's getting to the free throw line, right? He's not getting to the free throw line. Why? Because he's not drawing fouls. And this particular collective of officials are not blowing the whistle simply because there's contact. They are telling players by not calling fouls that you have to play through contact. You know, the contact has to impede you from making the shot. Now, with that said, everybody expects Jimmy Butler to play better. What did he shoot, like 5 for 21, something crazy like that? If he can put 30 on the board, I think that would go a long way in helping Miami win Game 7. The guy who disappointed me a little bit is Bam Adebayo. I mean, Bam is never going to be accused of not playing hard. The guy plays very hard. But the little skill stuff around the basket, you would think at this stage of his career, he'd be hurting people, but he's not. He's not a very good offensive player. He can get on a roll and make some shots, but I think there's just some things that he needs to work on. I think they need Bam to actually step up more than Jimmy. They need both of those guys. You know, they really do. So it's going to be interesting. Everybody's been hanging in there with me, checking this program out. Hopefully you liked what you heard. We've been talking for 59 minutes, right? And I'm going to talk for a few more. But these shows about reps. These shows about letting everybody know out there that you can talk about a multitude of things and do it in an intelligent way that is galvanizing and intelligent. That's my job. So I had to do that tonight just to come out because I'm about this, man. This is what I do. I really do this. And I won't be deterred by how many people are in the chat or how many people are watching or listening. I don't really care about that because it's my job to invite people with their minds and their ears to be a part of this. It's not your job. You got other things to do. It's my job to make this a place of destination for people to check out. And hopefully I did that tonight, but we're going to continue to do it. We'll certainly be on Monday night after Game 7, the final game, the final countdown between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics after everybody has a safe and festive Memorial Day on Monday. We'll talk about Game 7 right here on the In the Dungeon program. I am Frank Red. If you don't follow me right now on Twitter, go there right now. You can see my moniker at Big Frank Red. Just go right there and follow me. And if you like the show, I forgot about this. If you like the show, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. I guess it helps the algorithm and gets the word out to more people about the show. That'd be pretty cool if you like what you hear. All right, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna get out of here. I want to thank everybody for checking me out. Hopefully you found something within the last hour that you can chew on. And if you have some differences of opinion, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter at Big Frank Red. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. Until the next time, peace.